Hi folks, I'm Pete and I'm a psychic trance medium. That is, I go into trance and my wonderful friends in spirit and myself in like a combination come through with information that we hope will help you in your spiritual development. And as always, my shows are for entertainment purposes only. We all know that we're going to die. Some believe that's it. Others believe that we'll come back in the form of reincarnation, and there's a lot of aspects associated with that ideology or theory. But today we'll be sharing with you a system the spirit guides gave us called the split soul system. For those that believe that death is it, there's no afterlife, and there are quite a few. My friend Sam, who passed away a good 4 years ago, I've written up a story about him in my many blogs. If you go to the list of my blogs, you will see the Sam story. That will explain far more than I can do here. But basically, Sam did not believe in an afterlife. He'd been married for a long time and his partner had passed away quite suddenly and very sadly affected him. And though he didn't believe in an afterlife, he had this belief in his mind that he'd always catch up with his wife in spirit. When it came his time to pass away and he died riddled with cancer, he believed that he would meet her on the other side. Yet when I and another friend, a psychic friend that we'll call Danny, and Danny is in the book, tried to commune with him about, hey, there is an afterlife, he just wouldn't have it. When he did pass over, both Danny and I had encounters with him, and there's a whole story of that in the Sam story. And you'll see in that story how Sam just did not comprehend that even though he believes that his partner's going to be waiting for him, there's no afterlife. So I'd suggest you very strongly read that before you go any further with anything else, but we'll keep on with the video. So death is transitional. We move from one physical form or one form into a spiritual form. But it's not just a matter of, oh, okay, here I am, I'm physical, and then bang, I've gone, and I'm up there with the angels, and I'm floating around, and I talk to my relatives, and all is wonderful. No. There is a whole series that we have to go through. And the first of those is what spirit friends call the tumbling. When we first pass over, it depends on the status or the way we passed over as to what happens next. If we were in some sort of tragic accident where we had absolutely no control, car accident or whatever, we're not prepared for death. We are suddenly in this, where am I? Who am I? And it's all, the mind is not there anymore, but there are feelings and emotions of sense. Hard to describe it, but there's a feeling or an emotion. And then we go through that in the tumbling. Those who have died from old age or were prepared to die, cancer, etc., they will have an awareness that they are going to be going into something, or maybe just into the earth, but it's something. It's those people who tend to be a little bit more prepared. But if they're like the Sams that I was talking about, then that tumbling can be very confusing because they're not supposed to be anything. There's not supposed to be anything there. So the way we pass over varies, and of course the result of that is the time frame we have in the tumbling. Now, the first thing we've got to accept, and this is something that amazes me that people never think this, when we go into the afterlife, as we pass over, there's no time. There's no sun saying, wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep. It's existence. So that some people could be in that state of tumbling up to 100 years. Or, in most cases, or generally most cases, it's within a short period of time of about a couple of months. In the case of Sam, we had him come back to us very quickly after his passing. Others I've found took a while. Another old lady who was a member of, I call them my family, She was just adamant that she wasn't going anywhere. And it took her a while, and she found her place as a garden. So everyone has a different way. When we pass over, we all have a different way of dealing with it. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, I needed that. And going back to it, the way we deal with the passing over all depends on our status now. What do you believe? Where are you now? What are your thoughts? The more that you believe that it's just death and that's it, those are the people who have a long time or a harder time, not longest necessarily, although it can be longer, but don't forget there's no time there. It's a harder time. Oh, no, not again. It's a harder time for them to come to terms with what is the afterlife, what is happening. There is something. They are there. No doubt many have seen the different movies or stories of people who have had near-death experiences. Now, a lot of those near-death experiences explain to us that there is something there, that a lot of those people had no idea of afterlife and suddenly started to realise, oh, there is. We've got something happening. What they are not saying, because they don't know, is they didn't, when they passed over, when they, the near-death, it's not really a passing over, is it? They're sort of there, but they come back. They are still in the human ethos or the human level. So they would definitely have had visions. They would definitely have seen things around them. They would have absolutely seen doctors and nurses, pumping on their chest or whatever. They would also have seen beautiful visions and thoughts and feelings of what's ahead of them if they were meant to go there. But that is still in this, like a denser place. Not a wrong place, not a bad place, not at all. Those of us, when we pass, we go, as I say, we're in the tumbling. Well, those people wouldn't have been in a tumbling. They would have been in a state of euphoria. But the ones who have passed over, they sort of do have a percentage of that. But it's that they go into the tumbling, and the tumbling has them in confusion. Pardon me. After the tumbling, they go into a state of being, existing, and a kind of knowing, but it's a knowing where to them it's like a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes, whereas it could be years. Then it's at that point where they start to realise, well, we just can't stay here, like the old lady I was telling you about. I'd been saying to her, I was talking to her, and I was saying to her, just go over there. You see over there, you're in the dark. She kept saying it's dark here. And I said, just go over there and turn that light switch on. And she said, oh, no, I can't be bothered with it. And I said, just reach out. Reach out, and there's a light switch there. She would not. And she was basically, in her mind, or in her status, what mind, was walking up this dark corridor. Just walking, just moving down a corridor. And there's no life afterwards. There's only death. And sadly, she was a byproduct of people who kept ramming into her, there's God and there's hell, and all the places, limbo and purgatory and all the other places. And she was petrified because, to her mind, she just wasn't worthy of raising into a higher status. After a while, though, she decided she'd move down the corridor, kept on moving down the corridor, and in a couple of the instances I had speaking to her, she started talking about she was sort of like, a bit grumbly about, I don't know what I'm doing here. And it was like, well, at least I've got the flowers over there and the garden over there. And then it went from that to her picking flowers and then to her actually starting up her own garden. She decided she'd have her own garden. That was the stepping stones of her heaven. Then in the case of Sam, he was so locked into this, he wanted his partner, he'd been hoping would be waiting for her. When she came, as the story will show, she was behind him, and every time he turned to see her, she wouldn't appear, because she had moved on in the 10 years difference. She had moved on. So finally, as the story goes, and feel free to read it, he started to have this awareness that things were not like he originally thought. There is a peaceful place. There is no hell, other than the fact that he couldn't get his lady, which is probably, again, self-created hell. If there is a hell, we create it. If there is a heaven, we create it. If there's a purgatory or a limbo, well, those two are referring to what we bring with us. The limbo is a state of basically the tumbler into the next level. Where do we go? The purgatory is where we have to work through what we believed, and what do we throw out? The bath water with the baby, or where are we? And as for hell, that's reincarnation. That's coming back into the physical world. No one really wants to come back. And that's, if there is a hell, that's the closest you'll get to it. Okay, so we've died, passed over, moved on, left the mortal coil, whatever term you want to use. And as we said in the previous vlog, okay, so we're in a state of uncertainty, confusion, and it all depends on the status of when we've passed over, as that was explained in the earlier part. But once we've got past the tumbling, once we get to that point where, accepting that we're in a different place, and it's not a frightening place, it's not wrong, it's not bad, it's not too bad at all. All right, we are still in soul form. And it's in that form where a number of psychics have said they've spoken to the dead and they interact with the dead. Well, they wouldn't use the term dead, but family members that have passed over. They're interacting with them. Well, it's in this level because the person is still encased as a soul and they are able to interact back to family and friends. There may be those who see family members physically in the room or around them in a good way. I don't mean bad. In fact, the bad ones would not come at this point. The bad ones come after, years afterwards, and they wouldn't come necessarily to family members. But that's another matter. We'll get onto that later on down the track. All right, so they are now, they've made contact, I was talking to your mother, the psychics, I was talking to your mother, she's wonderful, having a lovely time and all's well, and that is true. But Mum, as such, has not started her journey yet. What's going to happen as she gradually gets, as I say, to accept that all is well, I'm quite happy here, her soul splits. And the splitting of the soul is where the soul itself divulges all of the knowledge that that person has gained in that life. And that knowledge is in seed form. So we call it spirit seeds. Now, they're still interactory. I mean, this is very hard for us to comprehend here, but it's all parts are still interacting. It's sort of like this room here is not a part of me, but it is interacting with me, and I'm interacting with it. But in the case of the seeds, they were part of me, or my soul, but they are no longer, they move. And there's no ill feeling, and there's no hatreds or bitterness or whatever. But each one of those seeds is carrying like a memory or an energy of us from the physical life. And they slowly and gradually move into a different existence, for want of a better word. The soul itself is like a memory. It's like a memory of the person. And that goes to what, for want of a better word, because I just said upstairs when I was getting all this, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, was I need names. What sort of names am I going to use? And I'm going back. This first was given to me in 2005. And I wrote all this up in a book, and it was is the On the Light Path, The Psychic Journey, which was published in 2010. And I had so much trouble trying to get names and terminology, so I just made them up as I went. And I use the term mothership for the actual soul's place. And it's probably the same as the Akashic Records. I would say it's if not the same, it's very, very similar. It's in that same ballpark. and it holds all the memories of that person for that particular incarnation, and possibly also goes on to previous ones, but that's not something that I'll delve into this time around because I haven't been told about it yet. I'm still waiting. All right, so we've got the soul is already split and it's gone. The seeds have already gone. Now, the seeds are individual solo performers, and they move on as they evolve is one word, but their light, the lightness of them causes them to go closer to the truth. And the Creator's kingdom or place or heaven or whatever you want to call it is layers of truth. Those that first come across and have got a truth of some sort, right, very deep carnal type truth, still have a truth, but then there's layers towards the purest of truth. And these seeds separate in accordance with or from the way they've learnt so far in the world. So some of, for example, in my life, the areas of my life where I haven't fully worked out parts of my psyche or my persona, the things that I have a hatred for something, say, that seed, or could even be a collective of seeds, has got to go through again. It's got some more learning to do. So at the end of my particular life, the seeds of this form that are giving me this and creating all this, I would say they would move on pretty quickly. But the other parts of me, the human parts of me, the parts that irritate me and agitate me, etc., would still have a lot of learning to do. Now, they could come back in reincarnation again, but some of them may not. They may move on. Now, if there's enough of a collection of those seeds that have to come back with a memory of a past life, they can bring that back with them and explains why, I don't know, I feel like I've been here before. Somehow I just know I've done this before. That sort of recollection is coming from a group of the seeds that still recalls, but they're going to be in the new physical form. Now, where do we go from here? All right, so these new seeds, or not new seeds, these refined seeds, move on through the ethers, closer and closer to the core. The more purified they are, the closer they get to basically the Creator, to the core center. And they have a right and are given, they're given the right to be able to be involved in the cabinet, as it were, of the making of the future and the future circumstances. The other ones, of course, they come back. Now, we've got that little group of mine that didn't quite make it, but the majority of my seeds from my past soul would already have gained quite a lot of information on all other areas. So it's not much sense in me, in that group of seeds, coming back with a lot of Neanderthals, unless they are coming back as teachers. So it could be that group may come back as teachers to other seeds that are coming through. And when it gets to the point where there's enough harmony and there's a drawing together strong enough, that then of those seeds creates the new soul, and that new soul is then reincarnated back in the form of a new little baby. Only it won't be a baby Pete. It's a totally different form and totally different situation. Right, so we've got the seeds split aspect worked out. We've got the skin, or the soul, is up there and it has information stored. And then we've got the new human form that's come across. Right, so the existence of all of that is in a, a place? It's not physical. There's no way in the world it can be physical. So it's sort of like a territory or an area. It's huge, and it's just growing and growing. So the fact that these souls, seeds, I should say, from souls, are up there, billions and trillions and quadrillions of them, they've all been learning and growing in the different degrees, and they've all been growing slowly and upwards towards the light, towards the enlightenment, towards the aha moment, towards the knowledge, knowing. And there is no pain, there is no them and us. It's everyone is aware within their own. This is everyone, that every seed. Gee, it's hard to get names, isn't it? Every seed has its own individuality and own persona and person, except it's not physical. And in that process of learning, it's automatic. As the aha moments start hitting that individual seed, they move forward and basically are getting ready for something new. And the something new is the shocker that I'll hit you with in the next vlog. What's going to come after this physical world we're living in? Let's wait and see what that's all about. For those that would like to read the original blogs and context of the book that I've referred to, I've left a link at the bottom here. Now, the link will give you my main website, and if you go there, you'll also see at the very bottom of every week's blog a link to a list of pages that I have. So there's a lot of reading here for those who don't know of me.